What? Another surprise Biss episode? Well, I just had some of these mocks already saved, so don't expect 2 Biss episodes per week. This is just an extra special surprise as I prep a lot of episodes in advance for while I'm at Brickvention. Anyway, this is the show where we spotlight mocks from across the Bionicle community to give you some inspiration. And today, we're focusing on revamps of the Toa Mahri. Everyone loves this year of Bionicle. It's one of the best. So let's get some ideas for how we could maybe reimagine these characters in our own personal builds. The first mock today is by Patron, and this is Jala and Hana. Is that actually the crab's name? I never knew that. Is that how they came up with the name? They were just like, nah. Anyway, I adore this revamp. This is freaking awesome. So it's kind of like, let's build Jala Mahri, but not use any of the pieces that appeared in the original set. And let's, primarily use newer pieces, specifically like G2-focused Bionicle pieces. This is basically like a G2 version of Jala Mahri, isn't it? I quite like that. And it does look very good, doesn't it? Now, right off the bat, how good is this mask design? It's obviously using the Protector of Fire's mask and adding all kinds of brilliant underwater breathing equipment. I think that's quite genius, honestly. The top crown area of this mask, it actually does look somewhat similar to Jala Mahri's original look. Here it is here, of course, if you want to, compare the two there. But the new idea of adding in all this new breathing equipment, that is a wonderful new addition. It's a surprise when you think about it. You're like, oh, I guess it would have made more sense if the original toy had more of that on it, since, they would have needed that to breathe underwater and everything. So making sure to include it on a revamp, it just makes sense. Now, speaking of equipment, all these printed computer tiles on the belt. What a fun new upgrade. Printed and stickered pieces, they're kind of the perfect way to add a little bit of sugar and spice to your creation. And it feels right at home on this mock. You'd expect to see something like this on a suit designed to help you survive underwater. And also having that pair up with the printed Poe Dameron Ultra Build orange printed armor shell pieces, that was a mouthful. They look very, very nice in conjunction together like that. And then a nice shark tooth necklace around his neck, the perfect accessory for this, underwater themed character, but also a little bit edgy. It looks like something someone in All American Rejects might wear around their neck or something, which, fitting for, well, not so much for the Mahri, but for the Bionicle, and it's the same characters, so it works. This foot design's also incredible. It mirrors the prefab foot piece that was seen on the original set in a great way, but this version here, it's a little bit more posable, and it fits the colors and the scale of this build very, very nicely. I love a little change like that, and one that's so accurate too. Very, very impressive. Oh, and a crab. Anything is better with a crab, and obviously the original set had the crab too, but reimagining it with a smaller cannon, and the fact that he's holding a little stick of dynamite, so cute. Really, really solid build here. Mr. Razzle Dazzle has built Toa Mahri Kongu. Got ourselves an almost Cthulhu-inspired variant of Kongu's mask. This is obviously a custom-made mask here, but it does look very nice. Now again, we're seeing a more CCBS-heavy version of Kongu. This could also be a revamp that imagines what he looks like if he were a G2 version of Kongu Mahri, similar to what we were talking about with the previous mock. But something else that I love about this is the fact that this is basically a revamp of Kongu using no pieces from the original set. Yeah, it makes me think of times where I've really loved a specific LEGO set, but I have never owned it. Very similar to like Lezovic, for example. Never owned that set, would love that set, but I can certainly look at it and appreciate it. Well, let's say you do like a set like this, and you're like, you know what, I'm not going to spend any money right now. Why don't I just build my own version of it, but use no pieces that come in that original set and do my best to just translate it as best I can? And then you get to own a rare set like this and save all your money. I think it's a really fun and unique challenge, and it helps you achieve some of your LEGO set buying dreams. And hey, a fun building challenge like that, it also might help you grow as a builder. So this mock makes me think of that. Maybe it's something you could try. Shrimp Sickness has revamped Motoro, and I do like this one. A bulky powerhouse version of our Lord and Savior Motoro, really sick. Right off the bat, I love these air tanks on the back. They appear to be using the blaster pieces seen on the Fantoka sets, and I think that's a wonderful part use. They work well as air tanks, and I think they also fit the scale of this mock very, very well. They look wonderful. These bulky silver shoulder pads are also a great addition. Of course, these are the Onawa G2 shoulder pieces. But, they translate very well on Motoro because when we look at the original set, he also had shoulder pads, but they were a lot smaller. So since we're buffing him out, it makes sense to use a slightly scaled up version of that piece, and hey, that's a good fit for that. It looks so good on him. The MOCs also been given bigger and more imposing looking claws, which is a wonderful addition. But the only thing that isn't bigger is the blaster on the other arm. It's actually a little bit smaller, or at least it appears to be in this image. But, the white armor around it, instead they've made it more heavily integrated into the larger design of the MOC. And I think that's a nice change, actually. It's quite welcome there. So, yeah, a very, very cool revamp of Motoro. Thomas Harding has now built Nuparu. So this is a rather simple reimagining of Nuparu, but he looks super, super cool. Adding in some orange to the color scheme, it's a tiny change, but I think it's a very welcome one. And the same can be said for the silver that's now been added onto the torso. When we compare this to the original set, I think the choice to add a little bit more to this rather bland torso and limb design that is just purely black, I think that was smart. Now, definitely it makes it look more visually interesting, but I always thought that the original purpose with designing the original Nuparu set like that, the way that they did, I thought it was to mimic the look of a black diving suit, which can be a little bit more monotone like that. And sure, I think that's a cool idea. But hey, little pops of extra color, it always looks nice, doesn't it? Now, never underestimate the effectiveness of little minor, tiny revamps and tiny upgrades like this, because it can do so much for a set and make it look way better. There's nothing wrong with a big old huge revamp though, that always looks lovely, but hey, if you've only got a few amount of pieces lying around or you're stretched for time, maybe you can just make some subtle changes to a set and you'll make something awesome, much like this. Up next we have a MOC by Iggs, and this is Liberators of Mahri Nui, Huki. So here's the original Huki set if you're not familiar with him. But yeah, the idea of Huki defeating Karapa, the Baraki, this guy here, and then turning his armor into his own unique armor. That's a quite dark but really cool idea. And looking at it here, they've pulled that off so well. And hey, just in general, the idea of taking two MOCs or two sets and then destroying one and using those pieces to look like armor, that's a great idea. So if you've got two MOCs lying around and you're like, I'm kind of bored of these guys, I want to take them apart and use their pieces in something new, maybe you could do something like this. Now, the way they've placed the Karapa armor onto Huki, I really do enjoy it. This top area here where it really looks like they've just ripped out Karapa's head and split the chest armor open so that there's room for Huki to sit inside, that's awesome. And then the way that the crab claws look like decoration around the blaster on the one arm there, that's also really cool. This is just a great concept and they executed it brilliantly. Wholesome Gadunka has now built Hahli post-Reformation. This is such a brilliant and graceful revamp of Hahli. I just adore this weapon, by the way. It takes what was originally just like a handheld three-pronged blade and turns it into this stunning wrist gauntlet thing that straps onto her arm. Doesn't it just look incredible? And it's nice that this can easily be removed or put back on, so that this way, you can pose her without the weapon or you can pose her with the weapon. It's sick. Now, there's also some dark blue tubes embedded into her torso. I always love seeing tubes integrated very deeply into a design like this. I mean, obviously all of the Toa Mahri had armor on that helped them breathe and move and live underwater. But it, only makes sense that they would have tubes like this on their body if that's the case. So actually putting that into the MOC, it just aesthetically makes sense. I can say that word, don't worry. But yeah, overall, this is an awesome reimagining of Hahli Mahri, and it's especially great to see some of these additional trans orange highlights scattered all throughout the body. A subtle pop of color, especially a translucent one like that, it just makes sense. So that has been some revamps of the original Toa Mahri, and all of them looked so good, didn't they? So hey, if you liked these builds, be sure to check the links in the description below and see some of the other wonderful things that these builders have built. Maybe you could give them a like, maybe you could give them a follow, maybe you could even comment on some of their posts and let them know your thoughts on what they built today and some of the other stuff that they've built. And while you're at it, check the links in the description below, and you can find my own social media there too. And if you want to see your MOCs on the show, you can submit them to the submission email that's also in the description, but it's also on your screen right now. And hey, while you're at it, you may as well leave a like, subscribe, and comment on this video as well. I never really say that on this channel, but it does help the channel if you do that sort of stuff. And given that I'm trying to post daily and really get things going a bit more with this channel, I would appreciate it if you could. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Love you tons. Happy building, and bye for now.